Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for taking the time to come along today. For those of you that don't know, I don't think there's many in this room that don't. I apologise for that. And I apologise if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again. But I think it's important that I take the opportunity as the Mayor of Bridgwater, my name's Councillor Leigh Redman, to make sure that I come along to these events, even if it adds a small thing or doesn't deter from it, to remind people that Bridgwater is very much open for business. And it's events like this that are carried out in a safe way that will help build people's confidence and build the fact that the Bridgwater is a destination, Bridgwater is a place. And, you know, just look at today. We've got such diverse things taking place today, from this wonderful event that's been organised through to our snowflakes, the big turn on of the lights. And for those of you that don't know, I have been practicing, so hopefully tonight's turn on will be a little bit more professional than the last one. However, just for clarity, you know, when it comes to promoting Bridgwater, at least I can say that I've had nearly 2 million views for last year's lights turning on. And I'm currently trending around the world. So Bridgwater is getting some benefit from a slight timing inadequacy. Tonight, you'll be pleased that there's no plunder, it's a button tonight, so that should be things should be a lot easier. So that being said, without deterring away from today, it's going to be a lovely day. And as I say, Bridgwater is up and running. For those, if you want to have a little break during the day at all, there's 40 stalls in High Street, plus a few fair rides if you want to take part in those, but for now it's just a matter of sitting comfortably and listening to some wonderful presentations. So what I'll do is take the privilege of declaring today open and running, and thank you all for taking the time to come along, and pass over to the wonderful Glenn Burrows, who will give you the exits are here, here and here, and the toilets are over there. So have a good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the introduction. My name is Glenn Burrows. I have the privilege of representing Eastover Ward on the Town Council, and I've been asked to tell you about house rules and introduce a speaker. Ironic, I've been breaking rules all my life, but anyway, house rules. The one main rule is come and go as you please, but don't make a noise when people are speaking. Tea and coffee will be available throughout the day in the foyer. We'll have lunch at 12:30. It's a free lunch, even though there's no such thing as a free lunch. And it's medieval themed. I think that means gruel. But anyway, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. 12:30 till 1:30, and then we'll start sharp. We've got a very full programme, so I shan't speak too long. Obviously, if you are free not to wear a mask, but use your own judgment and wear masks for protection of others if you're in a crowded space. The event today is being live streamed on Somerset Film, so you'll all be famous after today, or infamous. And I think that's all I need to say about house rules. I don't really know what the house rules are. Oh yes, fire escapes. One over there and one over there, and our steward, Brian Smedley, will, if there is a fire, will alert you all and you just make for the nearest exit, but we'll look on the bright side. So, we are so lucky in this town. Not only do we have a fantastic and interesting and rich history, but we've also got some fantastic local historians. We don't have to bring people in from overseas. We've got lots of people who are more than equipped to tell you about the fascinating historical aspects of Bridgwater. And I have to say, it's only since coming to Bridgwater that I stopped hating history. All through my school days, I couldn't stand it. And I couldn't, because it was about dates and kings and queens. But Bridgwater has really made history live for me. So I think today is a celebration of that. And obviously, all of you agree with that. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Chris Sidaway. Do you come up now, or do you want me to say a bit about you, and then they can see whether you live up to the I have to say, I see Chris nearly every day, and I thought he just was an allotment holder, because he's usually digging potatoes. But actually, Chris Sidaway is, I now understand, has been an arts practitioner and administrator for all of his working life, and now still. Sure. And archaeologist, a local historian, and he's going to talk to you about King Arthur. So I shall hand over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Glenn. Can you all hear me okay? Right. I think I probably know about 3/4 of you looking into the audience have heard before, but it is entirely pertinent to the talk I'm going to give. I found a Roman spearhead when I was about 10 years old, which ignited my interest in archaeology. But then when I was 16 or so, my parents took me and my sisters to Cadbury Camelot in South Somerset. And it was a dig, which we will go into later. But as we went up over the ramparts and into the digging area, there were lots of nubile young ladies in bikinis and short shorts. And that confirmed my interest in archaeology. And that will become relevant later. But as I said to the two ladies at the front, I have been heckled occasionally using that anecdote. But a lady who was in an audience in South Petherton once rushed up to me at the end of the talk, embraced me and said, "Chris, I was one of those girls." And not only that, she sent a JPEG of her in a bikini on Cadbury Castle that appeared on the front page of the Observer magazine. So the talk is King Arthur, the man behind the myth and legend. Many historians now really deny that there was ever a proper historical figure. I think there was, and the sort of incentive behind this talk is to make the case for a real man. But there is an Arthurian industry. I've got probably a dozen books on King Arthur, the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Arthurian Legends, King Arthur and the Grail Quest. So what we'll be doing today is trying to sort of work the myth and legend away and try the history. It's not going. Right, the Romans in Somerset, you know they were here in this country for around 400 years. And what did they give us is the old joke, isn't it? Well, central heating and roads that we forgot about for probably the next 500 years or even 1,000 years. But Somerset was very important in the Roman Empire. It was a sort of very rich farming area, but also on the Mendip Hills, you had enormous deposits of minerals. So we've got the Roman centre in Somerset was Ilchester. Their sort of leisure and recreation was Bath. But what I want you to note is this is Cadbury, which is very, very close. It was a major, major Iron Age hill fort, but it's close to where the Romans had their administrative centre. But by the early 5th century, there was an enormous move from the east to the west. Through history, this has happened on a number of occasions, but there were tribes, the Huns, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, all moving westward, encroaching on the empire, and finally threatening Rome itself. And of course, in turn, they were pushing the tribes like the Gauls, Angles, Saxons further west as well. So the Roman army itself was built of the legionaries and auxiliaries. The legionaries had to be Roman citizens. You couldn't be in the Roman army as a legionary unless you were born in Rome. Whereas they had auxiliaries called foederati, who were drawn from all of the countries that they'd invaded and conquered. But by 410, because there was such pressure on Rome itself, the legions were called back. And it was a historic date, 410. And here, you can see the Romans queuing up to get on the boats at Cummich to go back home to defend the imperial centre. On this side, we've got a Romano-British Christian. And I put that picture in purely to show that although the legions left, the people didn't. So there was sort of Romano-British would have been a mixture of the British tribes, who were, you know, the natives, plus a real mix of the auxiliaries and some Roman citizens had married local women. And within that mix were Thracians from around Greece, Syrians, and a good number of Africans. And we think in terms of African sort of presence in Europe as only being perhaps from the late Middle Ages. It wasn't. There were a lot of black people in Britain completely accepted, and indeed one became emperor. So that slide is really to remind us that the Romans left, by that stage, a very civilized and highly Christian community. But King Arthur, the fiction and the fact. In the medieval tradition, he is this chivalric leader of knights in shining armour and really adhering to a chivalric code which is not far removed from the code which our MPs are supposed to adhere to today. I'm not deliberately trying to be, but yes, I am. I personally think no one should be made a knight or a dame who doesn't have chivalric principles. But there we go. So we've got the medieval image of the knight in shining armour, and this is my image, which I did when I was at college many, many years